Cool, thank you for coming out. Title of this talk is How to Persuade Anyone, Copywriting Secrets to Grow Your Career or Business. Just before I get started, who already works in marketing or sales? Okay, cool. Because I'm gonna just kind of go over some basics as well as some advanced stuff, so. All right, and I say use this info responsibly, because it's powerful stuff, all right? So who am I? Vito already talked about it a little bit. You know, I've worked with clients in, financial, entrepreneurship, health, tech, e-learning niches. And currently traveling around the world and here in Bali for a few months, so I'm excited to be here. All right, so by being here, you're fighting for world peace. And I'm kind of saying this playfully, but when you can't persuade, when you can't negotiate with people, when you can't make a peaceful deal with somebody, then your only option left is force. And I don't like being forced to do things. I imagine you guys don't either. So I want to bring that up first, because some people say, okay, you're persuading, you want to control people's minds, you want to make them do stuff, and you're manipulating them, right? So I love this quote from Dan Kennedy, who's a OG direct response marketer. He says, every small business that puts a website up is engaging in psychological manipulation. That's not a question, that's what the thing does. The only question is whether yours is going to be any good at it or not. And he says, you're either going to do it well, skillfully, consciously, or you're going to do it poorly. And you can either use it for good or for bad. Do you want to sell something to people that they don't really need it? Do you want to be dishonest in how you promote it? All that stuff, So online persuasion is two senses, sound and visual. It's talking that music, things you hear. It can be writing, images. Our other senses, taste, smell, touch. That's more in the dating niche, and it's for eating food, other things like that. But when you're communicating over the internet, these are the tools you have at your disposal. And I'm going to talk about, so Oren Klaff, he wrote a book called Pitch Anything. And basically when, Silicon Valley companies need to raise $100 million and they need to get it from venture capital, they'll call this guy and say, hey, can you pitch our company for us? Can you pitch our deal for us? So he wrote a book, highly recommend that book. And he talks about the brain structure. So I see it as three basic steps. You need to get people's attention. You need to build credibility, whether that's about yourself or that you show and demonstrate that you understand people's pain, what they're going through, and that you can solve it. And then close, get them to make a decision. So getting attention is about the crocodile brain here. So that's, people call this the reptilian brain. This is the part of the brain that's responsible for keeping you alive. It makes your heart beat, makes you breathe. It also is really good at pattern recognition. So if you wake up every day and you walk outside the door and it's a normal day and you do that 5 times, and then the 6th day, there's a giant pink elephant outside of your house. Obviously that's a change in pattern. It's whoa, what is this elephant doing here? And is this elephant gonna help me? Is it gonna hurt me? So it's when you first break the pattern, if someone's scrolling Facebook, right, you need to break that pattern and show them something they haven't seen before and makes them say, wait, what is this? Because from there, then you can move on to the next step, which is the midbrain. So as we evolved, this is the part of the brain that's about social dynamics. Who's dating who's friends with who's in my tribe, who's outside of my tribe, right? So that's why credibility comes in second, because for example, coming to this talk, maybe the title of the talk got your attention. It's how to persuade anyone, right? But then you look down and okay, well, who's giving this talk? And it's somebody who does this professionally, right? And has experience doing it. So that was your next thought. It's well, yeah, I would like to learn that, but who am I learning it from, right? So people are doing the same thing when they're looking at your companies. They're okay, I think this is something I would like, but are there other options? Who should I, all this kind of thing. And then neocortex, that's the final part. That's what we're doing now. Now we're talking, maybe you're taking notes, we're thinking about it abstractly, because that's the part of the brain that humans have that other animals don't. And but when you come down for number 3, part of it is the neocortex, but then it also comes back to the crocodile brain for the close. So we'll talk about that. So basically, at a basic level, copywriting is using written words to sell, or to encourage an action. So you're not always going to be asking people to take out their credit card, right? So sometimes you want them to watch your content or to give you their email address. So today we're going to focus on direct response copywriting. Some people call it conversion copywriting, which is different than brand copywriting. So like, McDonald's, they just have billions of, $1 billion ad budget, and they'll hire Lionel Messi to eat a burger and cheer, right? And they just hope that you'll feel good and someday you'll go buy a burger. But direct response is about getting people to take action as soon as possible. Like not waiting, you're gonna put an ad out there and they're gonna come back and make a decision like as soon as possible on the same day. So the funnel, this is like a marketing funnel. You may or may not be familiar with it, but it's from the moment that someone is aware of who you are, what you do, what your company does, to the moment that they get sold. And it's described as a funnel because at the top, this is like ads and content. Like you might be scrolling social media, and let's say you put an ad out on social media and 100 people see it, right? So it's like a lot of people at the top, but then maybe only 20 of those 100 people actually click through and see your sales page and all that stuff. And then maybe 5 of those people go to your order page and add something to the cart, and then only 1 of them buys. I mean, that's kind of like normal numbers, so as you go down and you from when you first get their attention to when they're sold, and even when they become an advocate for you, like they give you a testimonial and they really like you, that's how it goes. And then these are like the different types of content as you go down, right? So you have ads and content at the top, that's like, cold people that don't know you. They may or may not know you if you're friends on Facebook or you're not, or it's an ad, right? But you're like getting everyone's attention. Email, like they already have to kind of subscribe to you, so it's a different relationship than ads and other things because they opted in. They said, yeah, send me more stuff on a regular basis, like so you have a bit of a relationship there. And then, landing page, sales letter, webinar, phone call, I'm not gonna talk about phone calls today because that's a little bit of a different area, but it's the same thing. Like that's gonna do most of the sales legwork. That's where you're gonna like really do all of it. A mistake some people make is like they write an email and they think they're gonna like explain everything in the email, like give the whole sales pitch in the email. When the reality is you can also think about it on a larger scale, like this is the attention part, this is the credibility, demonstrating that you can solve their problem, and that's the close. So in emails you wanna like sell the click, in ads you wanna sell the click. You don't wanna give everything away, you wanna like create some curiosity so that they have a reason to click through to the next page. So Abe Lincoln, American president, said, if I had 1 hour to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 45 minutes sharpening my axe. So you might want to like say, okay, I'm just going to start writing right away. I'm going to get going. But the sharpening the axe here is doing research. So it's really figuring out and getting into the mind, getting into the emotions of like who you want to sell. Because people do not buy when they understand you, they buy when they feel understood. I can't remember who said that, I would quote them, but the reason why, if you ever been in an argument with somebody and you're like, oh, and you're like really just trying to, argue your point, if they just understood me, but the real way out of the argument is to like demonstrate, show the person you're actually listening and that you understand what they're talking about, right? So this is the part of the presentation where I'm gonna start putting a lot more words on. I don't like presentations that have a lot of words, but at the end, I'll tell you if you want a copy of this presentation, I'll send you one. So yeah, 9 research questions. I send these to clients when I first start working with them. So the first one, describe your ideal client. Like who's the perfect person for your business? When you get clear on that, then it's easier for you to start writing to that person. Besides making money, why was the company created? What was the inspiration? What was the agony? You can tell your story. You can connect with people of whatever the problem is that you're solving. Top benefits, right? Unique value proposition. That's something that your company, like you should be able to like describe in 1 sentence or maybe 2 what you do differently than everybody. And then there's other ones like, this is a big one, 3 biggest fears, frustrations, worries. So there's a weird human psychology thing where we will fight a lot harder to keep something and not lose it than we will to get something that we've never had. So if I say like, okay, if you hit the sales goal at the end of the month and then I'm gonna give you a Lamborghini, right? But if someone already has a Lamborghini and you say, okay, if you hit this sales goal, if you don't hit this sales goal, I'm going to take the Lamborghini away. That person is going to work a lot harder to get it back. So it's kind of sucks, but the negative side of people is a lot more motivating. You know, it takes pain to make people change, right? It's like they're so sick and tired. They're finally like, damn it, you know, like I got to make a change finally. You know, dream life. What's their dream life? What do they secretly desire? What are these things that they're really thinking about, like when they're all by themselves, you know? And a dream life, when you can, it's called future pacing. You put someone in the future. You say, imagine like you are beyond all these problems that you have right now, right? And then you can position your company as the key to getting to that future, right? So, but when you describe that ideal dream life, you know, it's about not just describing it just for fun, but like saying, yeah, well, this is going to be one part of that, of your journey there, of working with us. And then, you know, what are 5 to 7? I mean, you can try to come up with as many as you can, but objections to buying, you know, like anytime someone doesn't buy, it's because they had an objection. It's pretty simple, you know. They feel they didn't have the money, they didn't have the time, they weren't sure you were the right company, like all these things. So you're going to want to address that when in your writing. You may have seen like icebergs, you know, Titanic hit one of these things. Icebergs you can only see like 10% of them above the water, and then below the water is like the 90% of, like it's way bigger. So if the tip of the iceberg is like a piece of writing that gets people to take action or buy something, then this is all the stuff that's underneath that's really doing all the legwork. So we just talked about research. You know, there's also readability. Like people think that, you know, you need to impress people with fancy words. But the reality is they say you should aim for a 5th grade level of reading or lower, which is like, you know, 11 years old kid could read what you're writing. There's some people that will give their copy to a 5-year-old kid and say, you know, what do you think about this, right? To get their feedback. And wherever the kid stumbles or like, what does this mean? They're like, okay, I need to change it, make it more simple. Structure, you know, are you introducing elements too early or too late in your pitch? I'll talk about that a little more later. Context and congruency. So I kind of talked about this a little bit with, you know, emails and ads. Like you might think it's the same thing, you know, like sending an email or an ad, or I can just like adjust it, but they're totally different because an ad is like, you know, cold, you know, somebody that's never met you. So you have a little more work to do in an ad than an email where the person already knows you, they subscribe to you. So think about the context of where you're writing. Think about like, you know, what's the difference between someone who is on Facebook versus someone who's on TikTok? You know, they might be just different demographics, different behaviors, all that stuff. And then congruency as well. So like I can't remember who told me this, but whatever your landing page is, like the headline, try testing an email where the thing you have to click in the email is the exact same thing as the headline on the landing page. Because people like it to be congruent. They're like, and even make it the subject line as well, you know? Or like you can do the subject line exactly the same as the thing you click in the email. You know, the headline could be a little different, but needs to be related. But if someone clicked on the subject line, well, they're probably gonna, because they're probably interested in it, they're more likely to click on it in the email if it's the same exact phrase, right? Stuff like that. Personality, fun, intangibles. So, you know, is it fun to read? Do you use humor? Do you speak or write as if you're talking to a friend? You know, people don't like things to be cold and corporate and boring and stuff like that. I mean, it depends what your niche is and exactly who you're talking to and the image you want to give of your company. So, I think like the dating niche would be like way on one end of the spectrum, and then you'd have like, you know, trying to do B2B Fortune 500 deals on the other side, right? But still, it needs to be like, you know, engaging. And then call to action, close. Urgency, like we're only going to offer this for X amount of time, or scarcity. We're only going to let 100 people into this program, right? That really gets people to make a decision. You can also do things like a crossroads close, where you say like, you know, I've given you all the information, you have what you need to make a decision here. I can't make that decision for you, but like this could be the moment that changes everything for you. And like that's how you leave it to them. It's like called a crossroads. It's like, this is a crossroads in your life. Are you going to make the decision? Are you not? There's all kinds of stuff like that increase the likelihood that they'll take action. a big one there too is like testimonials. Like once they get to the bottom or once they get to the part of the pitch, like who has this worked for? Who are your clients? Who are your successful customers? And making sure that people see that social proof, you know. So this is a great book called Take Their Money by Kyle Milligan, How to Write Words That Really Make You Rich. So I'm bringing up this book because there's people who can give you like a template of like, oh, just use this template and plug in your company's information and you just wrote copy, right? But he teaches a way to think about it on a deeper level so that you won't need a template. And he talks about these elements that speak to human emotions. So, you know, the first is like new or only. So like when people like things that are new because it offers them a hope that maybe this is the thing that's going to solve their problem because they've likely tried other things, whatever that is. And only they say, okay, that's cool, but can I get this from somebody else, maybe at a lower price or from a different, you know, different angle. People don't like to work hard. So easy, or anybody can do this, right? They want it to be simple. They want it to be straightforward, easy. Safe and predictable. People do not like to risk failing, you know? So making it as safe as you can. You know, demonstrating that it's been predictable in the past, it could work in the future. You know, things like that. Offering guarantees, you know. And then big and fast, you know. Is it better to lose 1 pound or 1 kilo in 1 year or 10 kilos in 1 week, right? So I'm not saying you need to make like crazy claims or anything like that, but just thinking about like people want big results and they want them like now. So as realistic as you can give them a picture of what they can expect, you can give it to them, you know. Okay, email. I'm gonna talk about email because I do a lot of it. So if we remember the brain thing, and this is how it works in the email. So attention is the subject line, right? And the credibility is the body, what you're writing in the email. And then the close is the click, how you get them to click at the bottom. So with subject lines, there's like a million ways to write subject lines, but I like to think of these two as the top things, which is curiosity, you know, and a benefit, like something that's gonna benefit somebody, right? The person that's reading it. So these are kind of like some examples of not very strong subject lines. So, you know, imagine I'm talking about this presentation, I'm trying to get people to come to it. So getting good copywriting results. My writing presentation, effective writing and communication in sales. Just kind of like, you know? And it's not like curiosity driven. It's like some of them give everything away of what's inside the email, right? So over here, you know, these are a little stronger, how to persuade your customers to buy now. So people like how-tos, they want to know the steps. They want to know, oh, there's a way to do this, I can do this. You know, new video shows 3 steps using like specificity, using numbers. This is exactly 3 steps. And then if you're speaking to someone who's already in business, you know, how to get your next client in less than a week. All right, so if your audience is somebody who could do that, you know, they have the resources, you can make that promise. And then, you know, introduce a little bit of urgency there, like access expires today. It's like, because someone might read that, they might be interested, and they're like, okay, that's interesting, okay, whatever, maybe I'll check it out. But then they're like, oh, but I can't wait. I have to do it today, because he's not gonna do this forever. You know, number 1 secret of good copywriting: see inside. You know, like little extra details that like see inside, like it's like telling them, open this email, right? And then you can even do weird stuff like stop what you're doing and read this. You know, like just simple. I wouldn't do that a lot. You know, maybe once in a while you can do a weird one like that. But yeah. And then there's different types of emails. You know, there's this a guy I took this list from a guy named Tim Deering. There's, you know, endless types of emails you can write. But here's a few examples that we use a lot. You know, story is a big one. So, you know, you can tell the beginning of an interesting or embarrassing story, like, I thought I had it figured all out until one foolish mistake cost me everything, right? You know, that type of story. You can highlight testimonial, like somebody that's really, you know, doing well with your product. Again, dream, you know, building a dream. Counterintuitive stuff. Like people, they really like, you know, when they think about, you know, most people think that it's like this, but actually it's like this. And it doesn't seem like it would be, so they love that stuff where it's like, they want to feel on the inside of like some secret, you know, information, right? Let's see. Yeah. You know, moment of truth. Things are going to hell. Like, hardworking entrepreneurs need to do this now. Like there's like, you know, shit's about to hit the fan, you know, like we're gonna go into recession, like stuff like that, you know. And you can do, where is that? What is the other one? The mental picture. You know, imagine making sales whenever you want to. You know, just imagine this, imagine that. It's asking them to step outside of themselves for a second and imagine they can do something a lot different than what they're doing. So here's like I said, I was talking about the 4 things from Take Their Money. But here's a basic structure just to give an idea of a template. So you talk about, you know, why I'm here, why this is important, what this all means, the complication, you know, like the part of this that is gonna make, like I introduce a little bit of suspense, you know, suspense in the movie and the TV show, like all that kind of stuff. I could go on about this slide, but I'll just show you what it looks like in action. So yeah, this would be like a moment of truth or mental picture type of thing. So imagine I'm trying to get people to come to this talk, and I'm going to send an email out about it. So I would say, you know, hey, Michael here. You know, I'm reaching out because the deadline to register for my talk, How to Persuade Anyone, is tonight. And so that's like the why I'm here part. And I make it a link because you want to get the people who are like, oh shit, I forgot that's tonight, and then they just click. You want to give them an opportunity to just like bounce out of the email if they want to. But if that's not enough to get them interested and hooked, you can keep going. And so why it's important. This 45-minute presentation is an amazing opportunity for you to take your sales to the next level. So it's important to them. Not why it's important to me. It's important to the person reading the email. So you need to be speaking to like what's in it for them. You know, but this is about more than just numbers on a screen. This is about discovering how to share your story and inspire your prospects on a whole new level. And then this is where you introduce the complication, right? So this is important because it's harder than ever to get attention online. Things like Instagram, TikTok, and Netflix have everyone distracted. And without the tools to get people excited about what you're selling, you could risk going out of business. So I don't know if I would go that extreme, like talk about them going out of business, but it's like you get the idea. You know, you talk about what's at stake for them. And then you introduce that other part, state the urgency or scarcity. So there's only 10 hours left to get in, you know, looking forward to seeing you there, right? And it's not a fake urgency, it's not fake scarcity, it's really gonna happen. The talk is gonna happen, you're either gonna be there, or you're not gonna be there, you know? So, you know, you just let them know that there's a deadline coming up. And then call to action. So I think like some people, they'll write a bunch of stuff and they assume like whoever's reading it, they know what to do next. But you have to be very obvious in what to do and like tell them, spell it out for them. You know, tap here now to save your seat. Like just literally spelling it out for them so they know what to do. And then there's a PS at the end. So what's something important when you're writing is like, you don't want to, if you're going to add a PS, you don't want to use the same angle or same stuff that you were talking about throughout the email. Because if they didn't click so far, then they need another way to kind of get interested. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle here. I'm going to say, PS, imagine being able to get a new customer or client whenever you want, just by pressing send on an email. I want you to have that power and peace of mind. See how right here. So that's like the mental picture part of it, you know, imagine this, right? And then power and peace of mind, you know, peace of mind is like, it's not just about they want more sales. They want to just not be stressed about finding the next client or finding the next whatever, next customer. So you're thinking about all the different emotions. Okay, other formats. So I just talked about email, but like the structure and like the kind of philosophy you can apply to other stuff as well. But we'll talk about a few things here. Okay, ads and scripts. I just shot this video, and I'm gonna pull it up here now. Where's Vito? No, okay. Can you guys hear it? No, you can't hear that, can you? Can you hear it?
Yeah. I probably have something to tell you. I'm trying to get your attention with an online advertisement. I'd probably do something like that. Then I'd probably walk over here and show you some things in the background so that you know I'm in a cool place. And then finally, I'd probably hands up in the air so I'm seeing something important, right? But for now, I actually don't have anything to sell, so you can just admire my face.
All right, so that's kind of, obviously I'm making fun and poking fun a little bit at a lot of online ads. Let me go back here. So, like, you've probably seen guys that do that, they'll walk around, they have the Lamborghini in the background and whatever, and then they'll like put their hands up in the camera and stuff like that. I'm not saying you have to do that stuff, but it's kind of the same structure. When you are writing a video script, because I know when I was getting ready for this talk, some people want to talk about scripts and video ads. Just think about, it's different than just writing or just like a picture, because you have other elements at your disposal. And think about how you can leverage visual stuff, right? Like me sliding down that pole, right? It's like, I'm not saying you have to do something weird like that either, but you have other things at your disposal to catch people's attention. So you might do something weird to get people's attention like that, or you might immediately like dive right into it and talk about a pain point that really resonates with your audience, right? Like right in the beginning. And then the credibility thing, like you walk around and you have something behind you, so it's like implied that you have, whatever is going on. And I'm not saying all of you have like a, some sort of online guru, internet marketer dude type of brand, but if you think about it just from an abstract level, what visual things you have at your disposal that you can include in the script. That's not just about the words that are coming out of my mouth. Use other things that are beyond just the words in the script. Okay, so landing pages. I found a decent example in the wild. Mastermind.com. So this is like Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. They have a business teaching people how to build an online course. And so if you see in the beginning here, like, to be honest, I don't know why they don't have Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi over here, because they have such a strong brand and such a strong credibility. So I would do that if I were them. They must have a reason why they don't do it. When you scroll down, you'll see their faces. But let's try to like analyze the top thing here with the lens of the take your money for emotions. So the all-in-one platform for your next level success, the new way to sell what you know online. So they're using new, right? So you see it right off the bat, and it doesn't, like, you don't have to overthink it. They just say new, because it is new. Thrive in the virtual economy, right? So it's like something kind of, they're using like a term that's describing something that people may have not come in contact with yet. Like, wait, what's the virtual economy? This is interesting, and then they keep reading, right? Sharing your knowledge using our straightforward technology. So what is straightforward? Communicate. That's like easy. Yeah, exactly, easy. And then unmatched success strategies and worldwide directory. So what is unmatched? Trying to communicate. That is exclusive with them. Like, nobody else does it like this. We do it. So it's the only part, right? So you can start to like see these little threads in copy as you read it, and you'll be able to write copy without a template, because you'll know kind of like the different things to hit as you go. And then you have the start free trial in the blue obvious button, right? So you want people to have an opportunity to click before they even start scrolling, right? Because you want them to, if that's enough for them to get started, you want them to get started. But if they need more, they'll start to scroll. And so as you go, you'll start to see, like, there it is, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, they have all these like credibility things. Like these are like really well-known brands. So your company or whatever you're selling like may not have this type of credibility, but just think about like, what can we leverage here? I personally, when I'm doing a landing page, I like to put testimonials like up next, and maybe even one above before people start scrolling. Because when you can show proof and demonstration, it's just so powerful, like, because it's already working, and this person is like me, it could work for me too. They get away with quoting themselves, but they have a really strong brand, so I think it kind of works. But again, I don't know why their faces are not like higher up, but through 6 decades of combined success in this industry, so that's kind of talking about the the safe side and the credibility. Like, we've been doing this a while. We know what we're doing. You're in good hands, right? 4 pillars, talking about the specificity. It's like there are 4 steps to this. I don't have to talk about it all, but again, like, there's another opportunity to click. So if you think about like the sales message as like a road, right? And you're like going down the road, you want to give people exits as you go down the road. You want them to be able to leave and bounce out if they've heard enough and they're like ready to go. On a landing page, at least. There's a lot of people that write sales letters or video sales letters, and they won't do that until the end of the presentation, because I think they want people to be a little more qualified, because those people like at least read everything up to that point. But landing page is a little different strategy sometimes. And this is more of like a software/training thing. So again, it depends on like the context of what you're selling, and everybody is going to be a little bit different. And then as you see here, like, anyone who's ever tried to start their own business knows it can be a lonely path. And then what happens? You let doubts creep in, or you lose your momentum. But that's not the case here at Mastermind. So this is talking about fears. It's like, even if you've never tried to start a business, you're like, oh shit, like maybe this is gonna be harder than I thought, and I'm gonna use these guys to help me. Yeah, so that's it. You guys can check it out at mastermind.com. I thought it was decent. Just an example of something you can look at. All right, so. Okay, so content or personal brand. Joseph Campbell wrote about the hero's journey. Every single popular movie you've ever watched probably follows the hero's journey arc. Harry Potter, Star Wars, whatever it is. It would be a really boring movie if the person nothing happened to them the whole time. There was no drama. They kind of like went about life and everything was good. Like, they wouldn't sell any movie tickets. So the hero's journey is like, it's something, there's like tons of infographics online where they'll compare movies and show like different stages of the movie with different movie characters of history and how they're really similar. You're just chilling in the ordinary world, then you hear a call to adventure, then the hero's like, no, I don't want to go on this adventure. But then a mentor comes along, so it's like all these things. So the point is, whether you have like a personality-driven business or not, like there's a face of the company or not, if there's a face of the company, you can use that person's story to connect with your prospects. Like, this is what happened to me, I'm like you, and so you can do it too, right? But even if you don't have a business like that, you can still create content talking about your product or your business or whatever, and then like make the prospect or the people reading kind of the heroes of the story, and then positioning your business as the thing that's going to help them, move on. So like, for example, like the refusal of the call, like you could say, you write a piece of content or shoot a video like, hey, I got started in business and I almost gave up in the very beginning because it was so hard, and here's what happened, right? You can just take different pieces of the puzzle and make them individual content things, like the ordeal, like fighting the dragon, like that's the part where you're like, and then, seizing the treasure after you fight the dragon. So it's like, I've been through a lot of challenges in my life, and here's what I learned, here's what I took away, and here's why I'm happy I went through those challenges, And then, since it's how to persuade anyone, I know we're talking about copywriting, but in terms of like persuasion and negotiation and gathering info in like conversations, like normal conversations, could be a sales call, could be just, I think sales call would probably be the most common scenario. Chris Voss is a FBI hostage negotiator from the United States. So like whenever someone robs a bank with a gun and then the police come outside of the bank and the bank robber like takes people and says, I'm gonna kill people if you try to come in here, police. So they call this guy to get on the phone with those bank robbers. And his job is to make everything go well without anybody getting hurt. And so he has a masterclass. I think I highly recommend it. It's like the best, I think it was like $80. It's the best $80 I spent in a long time. And he talks about like mirroring and labeling a lot in conversation. So, you know, if somebody says like, you know, like, hey, I've been in Bali for 2 years, right? And then you respond, 2 years? So you kind of like repeat the last like 2 or 3 words that they said and like maybe a different inflection. That's mirroring. And they say, yeah, I've been here 2 years. I came from the United States and I just wanted to stay because I liked it so much. And then the labeling part is when you say, oh, it sounds like XYZ or sounds like whatever. So then you say to that person, oh, it sounds like you're an adventurous person. And they say, yeah, I am. You know, I guess so. I never really thought of it like that, but I do like adventure. It's kind of fun to experience new cultures. And you say, new cultures? Well, yeah, I think, you know, like, and then you can just bounce back and forth in between each of these. And the reason it's powerful is because you're not like interrogating them. You're not asking them a bunch of questions. You're not like, okay, but what about this? What about this? Like, if you ever like, were like, someone asks you too many questions, you're just like, whoa, and like you kind of get defensive. So that's a really good online class I recommend. Okay, so important takeaways. You know, make a promise. That's something I didn't mention, but like everything that was an email, a landing page, sales letter, ad, they all make a promise. You know, David Ogilvy is a famous advertiser in the United States. He talks about that. Like, you know, that's the most important part. You got to promise that you're going to do something for somebody. You know, I promise that this product, this business is going to help you with your problem. And then I make it readable and conversational. You know, like don't try to like distance yourself with cold words or advanced words that people don't understand. Make it sound like you're talking to your friend in the bar, you know, and I mean, well, maybe that might get a little extreme, but you know, it's like you're talking to a friend, you know, and like you're like, hey, you should really check this thing out. Kind of like what I was doing with the masterclass thing. I'm like, you guys should really check this out. It's a great class. It's the best $100 I spent, right? Good copy sounds like you're talking to a friend and you want them to try something. Yeah, and then proof and demonstration whenever possible. So this guy is on YouTube. It's called Will It Blend? So they have like a blender, you know, where you do smoothies and shakes and stuff like that. So like if you're a copywriter or you're a marketer and you're thinking about, okay, this blender, what am I going to say about this blender? It's so cool, you know, I'm going to write this and that. It's like, no, just stop. What assets do you have at your disposal? And this guy has this really strong, powerful blender, and so he uses a visual assets. He says, okay, instead of just talking about how great this blender is, I'm going to show people and blend an iPad so that it becomes, you know, dust in the bottom. So it's the proof and demonstration. It's like, I don't have to tell you that this blender is good. You can see it just destroyed this iPad. So imagine like, you know, bananas and strawberries is like nothing for that. And then, you know, lastly, remember that your readers have their own lives. So think about what you're writing and where you're meeting them. So if it's a Facebook ad, you know, this person's like scrolling Facebook and you're speaking to an ideal client of like, you need to touch on those pain points and meet them where they are, you know, in the conversation that they're already having in their head. I don't remember, there's a famous marketer who said that. I don't remember who said it, but you know, I think people get like so into like what they're writing and their product and their company, and they're like, oh, everyone's gonna love this and I'm just gonna tell everyone how cool it is. But you have to come in and create a conversation that's like natural to them, and remember that they have like a million other things trying to distract them and that they could rather do besides click on your ad or click on your email. Yeah, and I talked about all of these. So recommended reading for copywriting. This one, you know, take their money. Pitch Anything is just like sales in general, but I use a lot of the elements in copy as well. And then Never Split the Difference. I've actually never read that book, but it's Chris Voss. It's the FBI negotiator. I just watched his masterclass instead, which is super good. Thank you. Cool, yeah, and so if you want, I can send you a copy of the presentation. You can just email me. I have a weird email. It's just one letter, M, and then at my website there. So yeah, I'll hang out if anyone wants to ask a few questions. Yeah?
You mentioned early on that this is conversion copywriting and that brand copywriting is a different thing. So
Yeah.
Two-part question. Brand copywriting is just building no like and trust factor. Is that?
That can be part of conversion copywriting as well. When I think of brand copywriting, I think of like Mad Men. Like, have you ever seen that TV show? Like 1960s, United States. Their job is to just think of something clever or creative, you know, and it's not necessarily something that's like...
It doesn't have an action.
Exactly. It's awareness, yeah.
And then, so with this idea that we're creating world peace, what would be the ideal ratio of brand versus conversion?
I don't know about the context of world peace, but I would say, so I don't think brand is bad. I just think that a lot of times it's a big waste of money when you're running an ad campaign. Like you're actually spending money, you're running on the TV or on social media. Because the reason why is because you're able to measure how powerful an ad is by how many clicks it got. So if you're just running ads to be like general awareness, you're like, okay, we just sent this out and I hope it works. I'm not saying it's all bad or there's never a time for it, but it's a lot more measurable when you create a call to action. Because you can say, oh, this ad was good and this ad is bad. If you don't have this measurement, it's like it's just your opinion which one is better.
Let me give you context. It's like I find myself subscribed to traditional leaders in the online internet space, but they're so aggressive with their conversion that I eventually get fatigued and I lose focus. I don't care anymore. Yeah. I think that's maybe stepping into the like overall strategy side of things, because there's some people that just don't like that. They don't like one email every single day or even two, and it gets a little in their face, too much pitching, right? So that's like overall strategy at least for email. You don't want every single email to be a pitch. You want to give people value. You want to tell stories that don't necessarily lead to a sale right away. It's hard because you might be part of the 99% that don't buy, right? But then if they run this campaign to 1 million people, The answer is analytics, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I feel like in this in this time that everyone tries to do copywriting, there's so many ads that we see every day. It's really hard to balance using the psychological tricks, like for example, scarcity, in 10 hours this offer is going to expire.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, authenticity, because I think that people now have like filters for all those psychological tricks because you see them so much everywhere.
Yeah.
So personally, when I see like too many like psychological tricks, it feels like a fake guru or like a fake online course, or like it gives me like red flags. So how do you like use those psychological tricks and balance that with like authenticity? Because maybe for some people those like emails that you said they were bad, they would look more natural and they would even like click them more. Because there's so many of the psychological tricks.
Yeah. Well, first I would say like don't assume that because like you're in the online world that like you kind of are more familiar with this. But I'm not saying so. And I would also just challenge that like I don't think it's like a one or the other. It's like you're either authentic or you're using scarcity and urgency. There's like I said, there's legit ways to say urgency and scarcity. One of them is like an event, or this speech. If I'm trying to get people to come to speech and I say there's only 10 hours left to come to my speech, that's authentic.
Yeah.
It's like you're just not going to come to the speech. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to be here 6 o'clock on September 22nd, and that's it. Or if you have a business, for example, like if I want to teach people copywriting, it's like maybe I don't want to teach more than 10 people. It's just like too much work for me. So I'm like, I'm capping this at 10 people. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't, I want to give like one-on-one support to people, and I'm only going to take 10. So there's legit ways to use it, But yeah, I know what you mean. There's like extreme, like, oh, this webinar is ending in 10 minutes and you're never going to see it again. And, save your seat. There's only, and it's, a lot of it is fake. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking to that, I guess, reverse psychology of pitching too hard and maybe knowing these tricks. So imagine if your ideal client are copywriters or people in marketing, can you use these things, or is that just...
Yeah. What's weird is like sometimes those people are the most susceptible to these psychological tricks. What's that?
So would you still use these clickbait kind of like headlines?
You said like ClickBank?
Clickbait, like something.
Clickbait.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, when you have a real problem or you really like have a real pain point, like imagine it's like the dating niche and you haven't been on a date in like 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, right? That's like a painful thing. So even if it's a little clickbaity or it's like, oh, this is probably bullshit, but I'm gonna check it out because the pain is so bad. So it's about speaking to people's pain points. Like it or not, we all have needs and wants and things that we actually need in every single day. And so, you know, it might seem like that, but some people may start out like that. Oh, this is probably bullshit, but I'm going to look at it, you know, or the pain is just so bad that they need something. They need a solution, you know. Like, for example, if you're selling ads, like running ads for businesses, it's like the business has to do something or they're going to not make money and not be able to pay employees, and that's it, right? So they need to do something. So it doesn't matter too much if the pain is strong enough.
So speaking to like right at the beginning of the presentation when you were saying about copywriting as if you're speaking to an 11-year-old. So if your audience is like a very sophisticated, highbrow clientele, and you're trying to reach the second part of the brain where you convince them of your integrity and that you're the best in the field of doing certain things, wouldn't that contradict speaking to them as if they're 11-year-olds, because you're not speaking in a professional language that they get convinced, you are the best at this?
Yeah, so by speaking, like making sure an 11-year-old can read it. So it's like about the readability, and I'm really glad you used the word sophisticated. I'm just gonna go here. So that guy. Oh, the Teletubbies, yeah. The Teletubbies hold all the secret to sales. Yeah, so that guy talks about that exact same thing. It's the sophistication. Like, so many people think that. They're like, oh, but my market is sophisticated. My market is, you know, private equity investors who make $10 million a year. And so I still need to be more, you know, like I need to use more fancy words with them. So I don't mean like talking down to people or like being condescending or like you're sitting in front of a classroom like and reading a story to kids like and like that, but making it simple and like plain talk, you know, like not confusing people. Sometimes, to be honest, like people are pretty lazy when it comes to reading stuff. So like if you use a word they don't understand, it'll kind of like stop them and they're like, wait, what is this? And then like they get distracted and then they're gone. Does that answer it, or is there something else you're thinking about?
Yeah, I guess kind of, but it's not necessarily that they wouldn't understand it, but you know, simplifying things sometimes wouldn't that, you know, if you're speaking to people that you know these are other professionals in the industry, they have the vocabulary where they will understand certain words. It's like if you just simplify it too much, you sound dumb.
Is there an example of like a type of market that you would be writing to? Interior design? Okay. Like interior designers that like are trying to get clients and move into homes and do.
For example, speaking to like a B2B market.
Yeah, B2B.
Not speaking to end customers, but speaking across the industry. So it could be photographers or it could be brand like executives that speak to interior, like that kind of relationship.
Yeah. Like for example, you could start off with a story like, you know, what's your name?
Hannah.
So like you could, for example, just say like Hannah was an interior designer and you know, at the end of the year she broke down crying at Christmas because she only could find one client that year and her goal was to have 10, right? And you know, then she did XYZ and then in 2022 she ended up having 20. She doubled her original goal, right? And so I'm like, you're using basic stuff like that where you're just, she did this, and then she did this, and then she did this, and you're speaking to the pain points to the point where, yeah, you're not, I mean, I'm not saying never use an advanced word, but people like to have stuff simple, like imagine somebody's like, you know, the reason why the kid thing works is because the kid's like, huh, what are you talking about? Like kids are clear communicators. They're like, I don't like you, or I like this, or, you know, I have to poop, you know, they'll just be really blunt and obvious. So be blunt, be straightforward with people and in plain language so that they understand. I'm not, yeah, like I'm saying, you don't have to be condescending or like talking down to anybody, but be clear in what you do for them. Does that make sense?
I think the hardest ad tech platforms are YouTube and TikTok, which time frame is
really fast.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Do you have any general tips for getting people, because everyone's advertising and it's really hard to get that first attention, get them in? Do you have any general tips?
What you said, artists?
I think there are so many competitors really doing the same thing, creating TikTok ads, creating YouTube ads, creating thumbnails, and getting people's attention on TikTok is really hard.
Yeah. But I'm saying, what are you selling? It's art?
I'm mostly in the e-learning niche.
Sorry, say again?
I'm mostly in these gurus who make money niche.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't like write a lot of like TikTok ads or fast like visual video ads. I think Mr. Beast is a good person to learn from. Yeah, like he has an interview I think with Joe Rogan. I think he's done other interviews, but he talks about that. He's like, so there's a concept in filmmaking called in media res, which basically means you start the movie in the middle of the action. If you watch a James Bond movie, like within 5 minutes, James Bond is like driving a car away from somebody and shooting out the window and stuff like that. They don't waste time when it comes to like getting into action, like catch people's attention right away. So like Mr. Beast does that, he's like, I'm here on a desert island, and he gets right into the story, he gets right into what's happening. He doesn't like sit down at a computer desk and say like, we went to a desert island. In a moment, I'm going to show you where we were. He goes right into it. He's like, and from a helicopter shot, like doing crazy stuff yeah, try to start and whatever the meat of what you're selling is, like start right there. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
What would you recommend if you have like a cold audience and you warm it up? Like what emails at the beginning would work? When to pitch first? How would you start?
Sorry, you said emails for the cold sending or any?
Cold emails. So for example, I have e-commerce or something like that, like 10,000 or 15,000 email addresses, and then start to want to warm them up, or I don't reach them out for a long time.
That's a good question. That's a little outside of of my expertise, because that's more about list management. I'm starting to learn more about that. There's a guy I know named Troy Erickson. He teaches that kind of stuff. So he might be worth learning from. Troy Erickson. He talks about list management. Like, yeah, if you haven't emailed a list for a long time, and how do you rekindle the relationship and go from there? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
And what kind of programs do you recommend for email marketing?
For writing emails or for list management?
For managing and also to make like automations and stuff like that, so automated. For example, you have like a new subscriber to the shop or to your personal friend, that right away send it out. Do you have any recommendation for that?
Maybe Troy, still. He has a course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have any like Chimney or something like that you're using for?
Oh, that type of stuff? I know a lot of people use ActiveCampaign.
Yeah, I use that also.
Yeah.
What you can recommend?
Yeah, that's the one I know as far as like people that are doing serious automations and stuff like that. Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, if anyone else has more questions, you can hang out and I'll be here. And yeah, that's it.